Okay,
All right, we're good to go.
great. Oh. Should start the slideshow. There it goes. Okay. Hello, my name is Renata Ruiz. I'm a senior AI business solution specialist here at Microsoft. I have been working with SUNY in my role for the last 3 years or so. I've been at Microsoft for almost 5 years now. I have done a lot of these presentations for SUNY. So if you've seen me present before, today we're focusing on Copilot Chat and the ability to build simple agents in Copilot Chat that are grounded on public-facing websites and instructions for large language models. I am a little bit clunky when it comes to using Zoom. So as questions come in, please make sure to put any questions that you may have in the chat or in the Q&A. I will pause regularly to make sure that I'm answering them as they come through. And then this session is being recorded. I will provide the PDF of this PowerPoint as a reference. So you'll have access to everything probably by the end of this week. What else? Everything I'm talking to you about, you have access to with your current licenses through your SUNY institution, whether you are an A3 campus or an A5 campus. So because Microsoft has named so many things Copilot, though, there might come a time if a question comes up that where I will pause and say that requires an additional license or that requires an additional message pack, and I'll explain why it does. What else? I think that's that. Again, I will try to make sure that I am pausing and answering any questions that come up. If there's a question that is like pressing or urgent, please feel free to raise your hand and then Megan will unmute you. But for the most part, everyone will stay muted throughout the presentation for the recording to be as smooth as possible, but there will be time at the end for Q&A as well. Okay, so lost my PowerPoint. There it goes. All right, so if you see me present before, you know that I usually start my presentations with this slide here. I like to use it because I think it really highlights how quickly this technology is moving. This chart is showing how, or this graph is showing how long it's taken certain technologies to reach 100 million users. And all of us, I'm pretty sure, have a mobile device nearby, and that took 16 years to reach 100 million users, and that ChatGPT line is pretty much straight up and down. So the technology is here. It's not a gentle growth. People are excited about the potential for AI, and we're thinking about it from a personal productivity standpoint today. But when we're talking to education, there's been an astonishing rise of generative AI in education specifically. As you can imagine, Microsoft covers many different industries. Education is one of the highest users of generative AI. And that usage skyrocketed from 45% in 2023 to 86% in 2024. So it's really highlighting that game-changing impact of it that AI is having on educational landscapes. We're using AI-driven analytics for transforming your decision-making. There's real-time data on student performance and operational efficiency. So a lot of different use cases. But at the end of the day, when I think about who my end customer is, and who your end customer is, it's the students that you're serving. And so when we think about generative AI in education, we also need to think about what that means for preparing students for the future of work. So making sure that they have the critical thinking skills they need in place, but also the skills, the technology skills that they need in order to use generative AI effectively. When Copilot was announced about 2 years ago, we envisioned that Copilot would be starting with people and human ingenuity. Humans are always at the center. It's called Copilot and not autopilot for a reason. And we're envisioning everyone having access to Copilot. It understands you and your work context and provides a consistent user experience to interact with the AI. And then in January of this year, we announced the availability of building agents and pulling agents into Copilot Chat. And so the thought there is that agents can augment Copilot by adding skills and knowledge to automate tasks and business processes. So just like everyone today has a smartphone with many apps, we envision a place where an institution where everyone has access to Copilot with many agents. So Copilot is for human augmentation. We're using it as a personal assistant. And then that addition of agents is connected to Copilot, but really for business process. So every process will have an agent. So Copilot for personal productivity, and agents for business process. We bring AI to education at no additional cost with Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. I'm going to say the words no additional cost multiple times today. That is very different than free because what you have access to is an enterprise grade level of protection for your data that is included with your Microsoft 365 licenses that you currently have. Whether, again, you're an A3 or an A5 institution. So at its core, Copilot Chat is a secure web-grounded AI chat that can be available on the Copilot app and on the web. And then in September of this year, we announced the availability of Copilot Chat in some Microsoft 365 apps, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And then the addition of agents integrated into the chat experience, and of course, providing IT with controls and analytics that they need to not only manage the chat and agent experience, but also analyze or understand the return on investment or what generative AI is being used for. And then that enterprise data protection. We're going to talk about enterprise data protection a little bit more in the next slide. So enterprise data protection, or EDP, refers to the controls and commitments under the data protection addendum and product terms. So you using your enterprise license or your academic license, you are adding that layer of enterprise data protection in Copilot Chat. All of these links that are on this slide are live. They all open to Microsoft Learn documentation that will, all of these will bring you to those specific pages. So if this is something that interests you, you'll have access to all of these. This is a very wordy slide. I'm not going to go through all of it, but these 5 bullet points are really important to know and understand in what you are getting with Copilot Chat with enterprise data protection. So number 1, your data is secure. It's encrypted at rest and in transit. And it also provides data isolation between tenants, meaning, I don't know, let's see, who do we have? I was able to see who was from different campuses earlier, but I'll just use the example that we had. So if someone's from Alfred State and then someone's from Downstate Medical, those are 2 different tenants. Your data is always isolated in your own tenants, whether you're, no matter being from the SUNY system or not. On top of that, your data is private. We don't use your data. Those privacy commitments that are signed with your contracts are state that and we take that very seriously. Your access controls and policies apply to Copilot, meaning that if you, however, central IT at your institution has set up Microsoft 365 policies, controls, compliance, all of that is inherited when you use Copilot Chat. So, for example, if you have automatic sensitivity labeling set up, those sensitivity labels will persist while you're using Copilot Chat. So you're not going to have access to things that you don't already have access to. You won't be able to unearth anything, and you won't be able to share things that are already labeled as highly sensitive, for example. You're also protected against AI security and copyright risks. So there are safeguards against harmful content. If someone's prompting for something that could be potentially dangerous or hateful, and then also against content copyright. So for example, if I prompted Copilot to generate an image of me as Spider-Man, I would get a message back from Copilot saying that that goes against their policies because Spider-Man is copyrighted. And then your data isn't used to train the foundational models. This is the biggest piece here. So I have this conversation on a regular basis when thinking about intellectual property, student information, any information that pertains to your institution from a work perspective. You do not want to use that information in your prompts if you're not prompting in a safe environment with enterprise data protection. So while you might be using ChatGPT, ChatGPT does allow your information to train the model. So just like we have different tools for different reasons, different apps for different reasons, when using generative AI for work, using a tool that is designed for enterprise like Copilot Chat is the way to go. Everything stays within your Microsoft 365 service boundary. And so nothing that you are prompting is going to train the model or leave your environment. Now, this will come up later probably. It does not train on anything. Your data is protected. When you prompt in Copilot Chat, in order for it to save conversations that you had, while it's not training anything, it does save the conversations in an Exchange folder. So just like your email is saved in an Exchange folder, your conversations with Copilot Chat are also saved in your own Exchange folder. No one has eyes on that unless IT needs to audit your account just like they would audit your email. That also maintains whatever retention policies are currently in place. Some places it's 60 days, 90 days. It depends on how your institution has set up their Microsoft 365 Exchange policies. I'm going to pause. I said a lot. See if there are any questions that may have come up, or if anyone is going to raise their hand or type a question in there. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so you can access Copilot Chat from the web app or the Edge browser. If you use Edge as your browser of choice, Copilot is embedded in Edge. If you're not using Edge, and that's fine, you can access Copilot, and I'm going to put this in the chat, by going to m365copilot.com or office.com. And when you log in with your institution's credentials, you will have access to Copilot Chat with enterprise data protection. You also can access Copilot through the desktop app if you have a Windows 11 device, and you can download the mobile app by downloading the M365 Copilot app. We have announced that there's Copilot chat availability in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook without the need for an additional M365 Copilot license. The functionality is limited. However, it does give you access to Copilot Chat. And then recently we announced the ability to pull Copilot Chat into some learning management systems. For if you need specific information about that, I'm going to provide my email at the end of the presentation, and I will send you more information depending on which learning management system you're using. The next couple of slides are mostly for reference. I'm going to go through all of this in the live demo, but this is for you to know like where everything is when you're in Copilot Chat. We announced the availability of OpenAI's latest model, GPT-5, that is available in Copilot Chat now. We have a partnership with OpenAI, and our goal is that the latest models are available within 30 days of release. So currently, while it is defaulted to GPT-4 Omni, you have the option of turning GPT-5 on. So today, when you open Copilot Chat and enter a prompt, it's sent to a traditional large language model, which is currently GPT-4 Omni. That's a variant that's optimized for speed and accuracy. The setup has worked extremely well so far, but now with Copilot Chat having GPT-5, that brings two major upgrades to Copilot Chat. Number one being the advanced reasoning model, and number two, an automated real-time router. So as you type a prompt as usual and hit enter, instead of going directly to GPT-4 Omni, the system now uses a real-time router that analyzes your prompt and then decides if it's simple, it routes it to GPT-5's fast high model. Sorry, that GPT-5 high thought process model that's for fast and concise answers. And then if your prompt is more complex, it's routing it to GPT-5 advanced reasoning models, which is thoughtful for more thoughtful context-aware responses. You will see using GPT-5 chain of thought reasoning in your responses. It shows how Copilot builds its understanding step by step. You don't have to choose the model, it happens automatically. And so it's available now for all of you to use, and I will show you what that looks like and what the difference is between using GPT-4 Omni versus GPT-5. I have been describing GPT-5 as the Ferrari engine of GPTs. You may not need that level of deeper reasoning. Let's say we're just prompting to generate an email. But if you are having it analyze significant amount of data or pulling from multiple sources, GPT-5 is a good a good option to use. You also now have the availability of collaborating in Pages so that you can work in real time with colleagues or other students to edit and expand on Copilot chat responses in a shared page. And I'll walk you through what that looks like in the live demo. You're also able to generate images, interact with Copilot using voice features for accessibility, so you could use voice to text. This also allows you to practice presentations or get coaching. The availability of adding files. So you can upload up to 4 files, whether they're PDFs, images, documents, Excel spreadsheets. You can upload up to 4 of them per chat, and then in an entire conversation, you could use up to 20. So availability of connecting to your OneDrive is there as well, and we'll walk through that. And then if you're using Copilot Chat in Edge, you're able to have Copilot summarize web pages right as you're in them, as well as PDFs. There's code interpreters so that you can perform complex calculations. And then I mentioned earlier the availability of Copilot Chat in Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. Okay, let's get into the live demo. And here we go. All right, so I am in my Edge browser. Again, you could use m365copilot.com or office.com on any browser that you prefer to use. I'm logged in as me, Renata Ruiz. At Microsoft, this is not a demo tenant, and that is why you're seeing the work and web tab. This work tab means that I am licensed for the additional piece in with M365 Copilot. But today we're talking about web only. There's that try GPT-5 button. This will start a new chat. When we click on this drop-down menu, it allows you to do a temporary chat. So if you don't want Copilot to remember the conversation, and so that you won't have access to it in your conversation history, you can turn temporary chat on. And then this green shield is letting me know that I'm logged in with my enterprise credentials and that enterprise data protection is applying to this chat. And then the ellipses here will open up recent pages, feedback, and settings. I'm going to click on settings. And I want to point out the personalization piece. So you'll see that I have all of these personalizations turned on. I can set up custom instructions where I would type in details about myself for how I want Copilot to respond to me or remember about me. It is using my work data, so knowing who I am at Microsoft, what my role is, who my manager is, who my team is, any saved memories. And so saved memories is basically Copilot making inferences based off of conversations I've had with it in the past. So you'll see here, responses will become more personalized as you chat. So I reflect solo before brainstorming with others. Reminders are welcome except for when I'm feeling overwhelmed. So all of this is correct, right? And I could delete all the memories and start fresh. Or if I think something may have not been correct, I could go in and delete individual memories. And then chat history, I have this turned on. I want Copilot to use my past chats to personalize responses in the future. Okay. So now we can type in a message here. We could type, or we could use dictation where it would do voice to text. This plus symbol here is where I would add any content. All of these tiles are just suggested prompts. And then when I click see more, I have more suggested prompts. When I click on prompt gallery, there are even further prompt suggestions here that I can filter by task or job type. So if I get stuck and I'm not sure which prompts I want to use or how to prompt, I can go into there. Okay, let's go back up. There's a side panel here. It's a navigation bar. We're going to open that up. I'm going to close some of these. So we're in chat right now. Agents is where we'll talk about agents a little bit later. I have some pinned agents here that I use regularly, some agents that I recently built. So let's close that. And then conversations is where all of my conversations are saved. And I can search by keyword. Library is where anything that I have created gets saved, and I will show you where all of that is. Is my audio not okay? It looks like maybe,
It sounds okay to me.
okay. And then I have a question. Is there any way to remove the tiles? There is not a way to remove the tiles in as prompt suggestions, but what you can do, I think you can favorite suggestions and keep them as your tiles. Okay, so I answered that.
It looks like Greg has his hand raised. Do you want me to unmute him?
Sure.
Okay. You can go ahead, Greg. Oh, looks like he might have lowered his hand. Maybe that was a mistake.
Okay. I muted
Yeah.
myself in case there was feedback, but okay. If anything comes up, Greg, just let us know. All right, so let's start prompting here. I'm gonna do one prompt in GPT-4, which is what it's set to default right now. And then I'm gonna show you the difference when we use GPT-5. So in this case, I'm going to prompt and ask Copilot, I would like a summary of this file. And I could either hit the forward slash and it will pull up files for me, or I could hit the plus button and it will allow me to attach any three of these. So I'm going to hit forward slash and I'm going to use a PDF that I have. It's a SUNY New Paltz student handbook. I would like a summary of this file and an outline for a presentation that I want SUNY New Paltz RAs to give to current freshmen. So now Copilot is going to go through the attachment, which is a PDF, and create a summary and an outline for the presentation that I'm asking for. Okay, so let's scroll through here. So it's giving me a summary, which is what I asked for first. And then here's the presentation outline for RAs to freshmen. And then giving me some action items. And it's asking me, do I want this outline in a Word document or do I want to customize any sections for my audience? Before I have it create the Word document, what I want to show you here are some of the pieces down at the bottom. So sources are going to be whatever I linked or any websites that it may have used to give me my answer. This allows me to copy the response as the entire response. I could copy and paste it somewhere. I could say it's doing a good job, or maybe it missed the mark. Microsoft engineers love having feedback. So if for some reason it's not working, um, it will, go ahead and give that feedback. The other thing here is that it could read the whole thing out loud. And then this edit in pages is what I want to highlight here. I'm going to show more, which allows me to share the response or open it in Word. When I hit share the response, it's going to create a link of the entire prompt and the response. And then I could copy and paste that over to anyone that I work with. But this edit in pages, let's say I thought this is pretty solid and I want to work on this with a colleague of mine. So I'm going to hit edit in pages. It's going to create a page that is editable. I can now go ahead and start deleting things. I can, highlight if I wanted to. I don't know why it's having a hard time. Something must be going on. So I can change things, highlight, all of that. Now, because I'm editing this, I can now either create a document or presentation, and I can also share this lit page with my colleague and say, "Hey, Katie, here's that outline. Let's work on it together." I can also add it to a notebook here. So this is a great way for collaboration. Now let's close out of this. What might come up is, where does that page live? So that page lives in the chat itself. It also lives in recent pages up at the top in the ellipses, and it lives in my library under pages. Okay. I'm going to go back. And now you'll see at the bottom that it's going to give me some prompt suggestions, as well as that question that Copilot asked me. And I'm going to say, please create a Word document for the outline. And so Copilot is going to analyze what I asked it to do, and it will create that Word document. I see the question in the Q&A about Copilot performing text analysis such as word cloud. I do not know the answer to that question. Will Copilot create a word cloud? Is that what you're asking? You can put your answer in the chat. We can come back to it. All right, so here's that download. I would click on it. It's going to download in my downloads. I'll open it up and we'll see that it has created the Word document for me. So here it is. Took all of that information and put it in Word. Let's close out of that. Okay, now let's try a new chat, and we're going to use GPT-5. So I turn GPT-5 on, and I'm going to say, based off the student handbook, please create an outline for a presentation for RAs to give to freshmen in dorms at SUNY New Paltz. I also want to make sure we have any links from the SUNY New Paltz website for each topic to add to the presentation. Make it fun. Let's see what happens now. So now Copilot is going to analyze my prompt. I did add a little bit more. I wanted to add links. And so it is telling me what it's going to do, right? And so it's doing a little bit more than what we saw in the first. So here are the links, that first prompt. It's adding all of the information here for me. University Police, handy resources recap, and then here are all the sources. You'll see we're seeing much more sources here. So GPT-5 is doing a little bit more. Let's go back to my conversation history here, because I prompted differently in this morning session. So in this morning session, I also used GPT-5. I attached a PDF and an Excel spreadsheet of my fantasy football team, and you'll see that it had deeper reasoning than we just saw with that PowerPoint outline. And it reasoned for 60 seconds. So when it analyzed this prompt, it knew it had to do deeper reasoning. And you'll see that it did um, all of the things it did. So, clarifying decision-making strategy, all of the searches it did, Seahawks opponent. It processed the lineup and file data. It made some decisions for me. And so when you look after those 68 seconds, you'll see all of the things it did, the recommended lineup, and why it's been wants to bench a specific player, what not to do. And then it created an Excel spreadsheet here for me that I could download. Um, and then it provided all of the sources, and we'll see that this does have a significant amount of more sources that it pulled from in 68 seconds. Okay, here's questions. I have not tried to have Copilot create a word cloud based on any inputs or uploaded documents. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I could look into it. Okay. Let's take a look now at using Copilot in Word. So an open up Word. Again, I'm using this in um web. I'm using the web apps just because it's easier to share my screen this way, but if you prefer to use desktop apps, there's Parity. I'm going to open a blank document here, and I'm going to show you that you can use Word with Copilot Chat right in that side panel and have it generate just like we did earlier. And I could continue to add that same document here. So what it will do is it will give me the same similar answer in that side panel. So it's single pane of glass. I'm continuing to work in my workflow here in Word. I could copy and paste it over and continue to prompt Copilot to help me with the document that I'm writing. So that's like starting from scratch. If we open a file, so here is a contract for an adoption, for dog adoption. It's actually something that I received, and I thought it was a little excessive. It's 11 pages for a dog rescue. And there were some things in here that gave me pause, and I did not want to sign it. So what I ended up doing was pulling the document and asking Copilot, please check this dog rescue contract for any red flags. Create a list of questions I should ask before signing. So now I have this document open. Copilot Chat in Word can work on it as the document is open. So it's pulling all of the information, giving me potential red flags, questions I should ask. And then it again continues to prompt what I might need in order to move forward or not move forward. I did not move forward with it. I ended up rescuing a dog from a different rescue that had a 2-page contract like a normal rescue. So that is how to use Copilot Chat in Word. Now let's open up PowerPoint. Oh, I'm so glad that Copilot can create a word cloud. Thank you for trying that out. How do you turn Copilot in Word if it's not turned on in our tenant? It might be blocked. You might have to reach out to IT. It should not be an issue because it's free. That Copilot chat piece in there is not an additional license. Now, if you wanted Copilot to like actually build the document in that Word document, that requires the M365 Copilot license. Just like if you wanted Copilot to create a presentation for you, that requires that M365 Copilot license. However, what you can do with Copilot Chat in PowerPoint, let's open a PowerPoint up. So this is basically a copy of the presentation we were in earlier. I'm going to open Copilot here. And I'm going to say, I could say summarize this presentation. And it's going to go through the presentation for me and summarize it. You probably should have picked a shorter presentation. I'm going to let that work. Now, I mentioned if you want it can create slides for you in Copilot Chat. So there it is. Summarize the presentation for me. It gave me, oh, it did it twice. Okay. It gave me all of the information. Here it is overall. Do I want a condensed version or an outline or talking points? So if you want to have Copilot generate talking points for your presentations, you could do that in Copilot Chat. With the M365 Copilot license, Copilot can generate presentations for you from scratch with specific templates. Like if you have templates that are designed for your institution, it adds images, it creates speaker notes. You could have it create a presentation from a file. So, and that happens with M365 Copilot license. In this case, if you open up a presentation and there are some features in Copilot Chat that will assist you in PowerPoint. And then the other one I wanted to highlight here is Outlook. So when you are in Outlook, and I'm going to open a specific email here. I can have Copilot adjust a response to Darren as I'm confused on what my role is. So it's going to read that email that Darren sent me, and it's going to give me a suggested response that expresses my enthusiasm, but tactfully asks what I have to do with this. So then I can copy and paste it over into my response in Outlook. Similarly, in Excel, this is a sample of a ton of data. It's not real employee data. It's just rows and rows. When we open Copilot up in the sidebar, it gives me some options for prompts, and I could prompt based off of this particular sheet. So there is what you can do with those 4 apps that you have access to. Let's go ahead and close out of this. And I'm going to go back to my, see. Hi, Maureen. I just saw your question. Your system admin. So the availability of Copilot Chat in the four Microsoft 365 apps was announced in September as general availability, so it should have rolled out to everyone's tenants. This question did not come up in the morning session, so let me look into why that might be happening. There's no reason it shouldn't be coming up. Um, I'm assuming that it's not blocked in your tenant. If you're a system admin, you should be able to unblock it if it is. But let me, oh, someone else can see it. Huh, weird. Okay, I don't know why that's happening, but let's either open up a support ticket and I'll look into it. Okay, let's go back into the PowerPoint and talk a little bit about prompting. So we've had a little bit of a mindset shift when thinking about prompting versus searching. So uh, before Copilot or a generative AI in general, we were very accustomed to either Googling or Binging or searching, typing in a couple of keywords, maybe using some quotation marks, and having to sort through links in order to find the answer. Now, with generative AI, prompting requires it to be a little more conversational. We're using large language models, so language is required to generate the content that you're hoping for. So, using plain but clear language and providing context like you would with an assistant is the way to go. Sometimes that assistant is right on top of it. Sometimes that assistant is a little more like Amelia Bedelia, and you might need to redirect. So, when we're thinking about prompting, there are four key ingredients or elements that help write an effective prompt. So, number one is context. Why do you need it and who is involved? Um, the goal being what responses do you want from Copilot? I asked for an outline earlier, right? Um, provided the source. What information or sources or samples should Copilot use? If you have a an example or a format that you prefer, so let's say I'm having Copilot generate a job description and there's a specific format that I use, I can attach that format and say, using this format, generate a job description for this. And then expectations. How should Copilot respond to best meet your expectations? Sometimes I tell Copilot I want it in table format. Um, or I want 5 bullets, or I want an outline. So giving it expectations. So here is a view from like a Mad Libs sort of style. The context being I work in marketing and focus on competitor research. Goal, give me a concise summary of recent news about company name. The source, focus on web articles from the last 2 months. And expectations, provide the answer in 2 to 3 paragraphs and use a business tone. So when we are writing our prompts, it is a great tool or a great way to remember is to include these four elements or at least a couple of these elements in order to save you time from reprompting and also to get Copilot to give you the most relevant response. A couple of things to think about from the best practices standpoint is that prompt length and clarity matters. If it's too short, you're going to get generic results. If it's too long, Copilot might not follow all of your instructions. So average prompt is between 7 to 9 words. That's still a little too short. 25 to 30 is going to give you a good size and provide Copilot with enough information. You want to clearly state what you want Copilot to do. So instead of being vague, provide specific tasks or outcomes. Now, if you find yourself writing paragraph to prompt, it's going to be too long. So if you need Copilot to do something that's a bit heftier, break it down into multiple steps. Don't cram too many questions or requests into one prompt. So, step by step approach, letting Copilot know, hey, I need you to help me with this. I'm going to give it to you step by step. Copilot will understand and wait for you in order to generate the content. This provides more clarity and focus. There's more structure in that thinking. It's easier to manage. It also allows you to adjust and refine at each stage so that Copilot is providing you richer content. Um, there was something else I was gonna mention. Breaking it down to multiple steps. It'll come to me. All right. Persona-based prompting. You can also tailor prompts to get more precise and customized or specialized outcomes by saying, act as a financial advisor, act as a legal counsel, or I am a mother of two boys, or giving it a persona enables you to receive tailored guidance or solutions for different scenarios, and that makes it more efficient and focused. And then the other piece is asking Copilot for feedback. So instead of guessing what Copilot might need from you, you could ask Copilot, what info, you could say, it doesn't seem like you're getting it. What information do you need from me in order to get it right? Or what information is missing? Or you can say it up front, I need suggestions for a gift for a friend. What information do you need from me in order to provide me with the best options? And it will give you a list of questions and you can answer them up front and get a better response. I'm going to pause. Doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat. Okay. Let's now get into agents. All right, so today we're talking about Agent Builder, and that's what's available for you in Copilot Chat. There are a range of tools for agent creation at Microsoft. Today we are staying in this little section of agent building for end users. These agents are basic search and retrieve agents. They are not going to perform autonomous tasks. They are designed, again, for end users to be able to create. Now, at some point, a question may come up asking, can my agent live on a specific website? Can my agent do an autonomous task? Can my agent trigger another task? That will then bring us into Copilot Studio, and that is not something we're talking about today. We're talking about Agent Builder. We're going to think of Agent Builder as Copilot Studio Lite, and that if there's some questions about Copilot Studio, I can address them in the chat. Give me 1 second. Okay. Agent Builder and Copilot Studio are, again, Agent Builder is Copilot Studio Lite. Copilot Studio does allow for additional customizations and options. I've been describing this as Agent Builder being Skipper, Copilot Studio being Barbie. If you want accessories and a Barbie Jeep and a dream house, you're in Copilot Studio. If Skipper is very basic, search and retrieve, you can ground it on instructions, in public-facing websites, and documents. Now, what we're talking about today are the first two, grounding it on instructions only or grounding it on public-facing websites. That is because that does not consume anything. It does not require additional pieces. Now, if you wanted to ground it on a specific PDF or a SharePoint site, anything that is considered graph data, work data, that does require a consumption model with a Copilot Studio message pack, which will allow that agent to consume against messages. So today, I might at the end show you what that looks like, but the ones that are available to you at no additional cost without the requirement of a message pack are the agents that are built on instruction or public facing websites. The following slides are really for reference. So, how to create your agent, you're going to use natural language. This is the step by step, right? You're going to first give the agent a description, some instructions, what knowledge you want it to use, what the capabilities you want the agent to have, and then suggested prompts. And we'll go through all of that in the demo. So let me get out of here. And let's go into agents. Now, in Copilot Chat, you're going to see any agents that you have pinned. You may not have any pinned right now. These are available to me through Microsoft, and then any agents that you may have built. Anyone in the chat has anyone built an agent yet? See if there's anyone who's okay. We have some people who have built agents. Awesome. Andrea or Andrea, I don't want to say it wrong. Would you like to come off mute and tell us what agent you've built? Would love to hear.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I've just played around a little bit. So we've built a bright space agent to help answer like learning management system questions for instructors, and built a tool for strategic alignment. So to help guide more strategic decisions when we're creating documents internally, and we've done a little bit of other testing too. So just trying it out for fun.
Great. I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm assuming you've built those in Copilot Studio.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. We are going to build an agent together. I'm going to walk you through how that happens. I am now, when I clicked in all agents, it's going to pull up what we call the agent store. I don't like calling it a store because you don't have to buy anything. It's really a catalog. Up front, I'm able to search agents. I can see the agents I've recently used or built. You'll see that there are a couple of them here. Then any agents built by Microsoft, you have access to some of these at no additional cost. I'm pretty sure Prompt Agent is something you have access to. Anything that was built by your organization and is pushed out to you or specific groups, anything that was shared with me by one of my colleagues, anything that's popular. And then here I can create agents up at the top or create an agent down here. So let's go ahead and hit create agent. And it's going to open it up to a configuration. So you can use a template. You can, write the description or instructions, but you could also use this describe tab, which will pull it up as a conversation. So Copilot Studio will prompt you as you start to build your agent. Now, I prefer to work smarter and not harder. So I actually use Copilot Chat to help me build my agent. I want Copilot Chat to give me my description and my instructions and what I want it to do. So let's go ahead and open a new tab here and open up Copilot. And we're going to toggle between these two. And I have a prompt that I use that I want it to act as an agent expert creator, and I'm going to share an idea with you, and I want it to analyze that idea and then write the description and the instructions for the behavior for that agent for me. So let's go ahead and say that. So my idea is I want to build an agent for SUNY students, entire system, that will help them decide on graduate courses or programs across the entire SUNY system based off their current major, academic interests, and career goals. I want it to be an advisor. Okay, so here's a breakdown of my SUNY-wide graduate advising Copilot agent. So it is giving me the description. Here are the instructions, right? Okay, and so it's gonna continue to ask me, but I'm gonna say this is good, right? I'm gonna make a couple of tweaks, and I'm gonna copy the description here. Let's copy this like that. And I'm gonna pop it right in here. So as it's gathering the information that I dropped in there, it's going to start building the agent over here in the sandbox. Okay, so yes, this is the name I suggested, and it's going to ask me now, probably going to ask me for the behaviors that I want it to have. Okay, let's clarify what specific tasks this advisor should perform. So let's go back in here, and here are those behavior instructions. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste it. Let me go up here. Identify, I want it to only suggest SUNY schools. No, not other universities or colleges. Okay. Hear my husband upstairs is absurdly loud. We've been working home together since like 2010, and still 15 years later, I'm like, why are you yelling? I hope that there's voice isolation. I normally use voice isolation in Teams, but holy moly. All right, so it built, it made some adjustments here. So the agent's behavior has been updated, and now there's a next step. Do I want to add any knowledge sources, any specific URLs or documents for the agent to reference? I could skip this if I wanted to. So I'm actually not going to do this here, but if I had a specific website, I could copy and paste that URL right into this chat. But now I'm going to flip back over into configure. And so we can change the logo. Actually, why don't we do that? Let's use this one. Let's just put it in downloads. Now I'm going to edit, upload. There it is. So there's my logo. The name It copied the description and the instructions from that chat interface that we were in the scribe. And here's the knowledge base. Now, because I am licensed for Microsoft 365, I have the ability to add knowledge from specific files or SharePoints or sites. In order for that to be enabled in your environment, you would need to either have an M365 Copilot license or that message pack that we talked about, because that is where that would make the agent work and consume messages against that work data. We are not building this particular agent on anything, any specific documents. We're just going to use all of the web. So I'm going to click in here and, oh, let me move down. I'm going to hit all websites. So now Copilot, this agent, is going to use the large language model, which in this case is GPT-4 Omni, and all of the web in order to answer the questions. Now, if I had a specific website that I wanted to use and I don't, I could link it here and then say only use specified sources, right? I want my agent to be restricted to what websites I'm putting if the accuracy is critical. In this case, it's not. We're making it very generic. I also can decide what capabilities I want this agent to have. Do I want it to create documents, charts, and code? No, I don't need it to do that. I don't need it to create images. And then these suggested prompts are what come up in these tiles. And I'm going to keep all of these like this. So now I think my agent looks great. Oh, what happened here? I'm going to hit create. So it's creating my agent. And it's telling me that my agent is currently private and only available to me. So I can hit share and decide that I can open this agent up to anyone in my org or specific users. So if I had a specific group, human resources, for example, I could share an agent out to them. But right now I'm going to say only me is fine. Go to agent. And we're going to go to the chat here. And there's my agent, that's SUNY Grad Path Advisor. So I can use any of these options. And I can say here, I am currently a junior at Alfred State. I am majoring in psychology. I'm not sure what I want to pursue, but I definitely want to go to grad school. What are my options? What should I think about? All right, so let's see how it responds. So since you're still exploring your path, I could help you look at a range of graduate options. Here are some directions you might consider. Interdisciplinary or applied fields, things to think about, next steps I can help you with. All right, so, and now it's asking me, would you like to start by showing psychology-related grad programs across SUNY? I want to see what grad programs are available for social work. No, either at Alfred State or no further than 3 hours away. So it's going to now give me some additional information. So some SUNY schools nearby with a Master of Social Work, and it's linking that information for me. It doesn't offer a graduate level MSW, but they do offer human services management. Here's what I could do next. And then here are the sources. So I can continue to ask questions or I could start a new one. So this is an example of a Copilot chat agent that is grounded on public-facing websites. Another thing to know here is that any of these agents that are built in Copilot Studio Lite or an agent builder are only available, can only be used in Copilot Chat. So I'm using it here in the web, but if I wanted to pull it into, for example, let's go into Word. I'm just opening a blank document here. I want to point out that I can interact with the agent here and pull the agent. It's not reading these are all older agents. It might be taking a little longer. What did I name it? SUNY grad path, let's see. The semantic indexing might not have happened yet, but what happens is you talk to an agent by hitting the @ key, and it will pull that agent into the chat experience, even without being in the agent in Copilot Chat itself. I hope that makes sense. A couple other ways to build agents. You have the option of building an agent from a template. So here are the templates that are available to you. I built one the other day with Learning Coach because Learning Coach is an agent designed to assist in learning specific subjects and, refining skills. So you can use this template and then tailor it for your specific need. There are multiple templates here. So you can do idea coach or prompt coach, and that allows you to use the templates to build the agent. And then the only other thing I wanted to point out is that the agent that we just built, again, consumes nothing. It is grounded on public-facing websites and the large language model. If you wanted to build something that is grounded on a specific document, like for example, this Penn Faculty Navigator is grounded on a PDF. So one handbook that is 174 pages long. You'll see it's a lot of information. And this is a faculty handbook with specific policies, right? So we don't want the additional noise of other websites that might interfere with the answer. We want the agent to answer based off of this document alone. So that's what it's grounded on. So when I go into that agent and I ask it, I received a grant, can I just accept it? It's going to tell me, based off of the procedures in that faculty handbook, and will link where it's coming from to answer the question. Now, this is grounded on work or tenant data. This requires either an M365 Copilot license for it to work, for that agent to work for someone, or a consumption method with a message pack. Okay. I am going to go back here. I have included that prompt that I had earlier in the presentation. The other thing is that there are multiple resources linked here for Copilot Chat, for agents, any additional training that's available, and then any updates that we have. I would suggest following these blogs. They're really helpful. And then you have access to my email address here and my LinkedIn so that you can communicate with me. I'm gonna stop talking and see if there are any questions that. Oh, the cost of the consumption pack. So I can give you the cost ERP. You would have to go through your reseller, which I believe is SHI if you're a SUNY institution. It is $121 per pack. There's 25,000 messages per pack per month. So it's $121 per month. And then those 25,000 messages can be used for any agent. It doesn't have to be per agent. It can be shared across the tenant. It can also be IT can set it up so that message pack is just for one agent. There are a lot of different controls and options for message packs. Anyone else have any questions? If you want to raise your hand, it might be faster than typing, but and then Megan will unmute you. Otherwise, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know we're a little bit early. That tends to happen when I do the same presentation multiple times. But please, if anything comes up, feel free to send me an email and I'll get back to you. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Renata.
Have a great day. Oh, wait, there are two questions. Hold on. You will receive a copy of this recording. It's being recorded right now. The slides will be coming as a PDF, probably from Chris Lynch. I will send them over to her. And then if we wanted to share with the campus faculty, okay. So the question about sharing internally with the campus faculty, you do need a message pack if that agent is grounded in work or tenant data, right? So if it's grounded on a document or a SharePoint site, you would need the message pack, even if you're sharing it internally. If you're building an agent like we did that was based off of all websites, you can share that internally with no issue whatsoever.